Reports tonight, rattlesnakes can be a danger to adults, kids, and pets.
These are the sounds of the season, rattlesnake season. Sounds that will put fear into the hearts of most humans. Sounds that can be deadly to curious pets. Sounds that can be heard at this time of year along hiking trails and bike paths and even in the city.
In your yard in town.
Okay.
They're all over San Diego. There's so many canyons in San Diego.
Every year, about 50 San Diegans are bitten by rattlesnakes, and they usually strike repeatedly.
That's when they're coiled. That's when they're more apt to strike than anything. And the first bite probably doesn't have as much venom as the second or third bite.
Here are some safety tips for victims of rattlesnake bites. Lay the victim down and keep them warm. Remove rings or other constrictive items. Transport them to a medical facility as quickly as possible. Dog trainer and backcountry resident Tracy Jensen taught her kids how to be snake safe.
If they're walking along and they see a snake, they're supposed to back away slowly and run.
This sound should alert you. It is the season to be careful. Larry Himmel, Local 8 News. It's an idyllic, almost Opie kind of afternoon in the backcountry. A great day to be a kid, roaming these hills, oblivious to the danger below his feet. It's rattlesnake season, and not just in the country. The danger is everywhere.
In your yard in town.
Okay.
They're all over San Diego. There's so many canyons in San Diego.
Rattlesnakes can be dangerous to humans and deadly to pets. Tracy Jensen owns High On Kennel and teaches snake avoidance to dogs as young as 6 months.
And you know, the little dogs that live in the backyard on a canyon are going to have a snake crawl through their yard, and they're just going to go bananas on them.
Tracy attaches an electronic training collar, or e-collar, to the dog.
This will give him an electric stimulation. It's not harmful. It's conditioned response.
Okay. In that wooden cage are 2 live rattlesnakes.
We're going to take him downwind of the snake. We're going to let him smell the snake. If he alerts on it, I'm going to give him a little correction.
Next, a full-grown live diamondback rattlesnake is placed in the dog's path.
We tape his mouth shut so he can't bite. That's when they're coiled. That's when they're more apt to strike than anything. Okay, there you go. There's avoidance.
For other, more curious dogs, the lesson may be harder learned.
Well, it's conditioned response. You know, if you go near the snake, it hurts.
I had Tracy hook me up to the electronic collar to experience the kind of jolts the dogs were feeling.
No, just hold it like that. You don't have to push real hard.
Oh, you didn't push anything yet. There are 12 different levels of stimuli that can be administered.
This is level 3, low, medium, high. A little bit of a bite to it.
Yeah. The way this trainer sees it, a shock in the neck is better than a dead dog, because when rattlesnakes strike, they usually bite more than once.
And the first bite probably doesn't have as much venom as the second or third bite.
And even if your pet survives, saving their lives can cost up to $2,000 in emergency vet bills and anti-venom vaccine. All right, so you can train a dog to avoid rattlesnakes, but what do you and I do when we come across one of these? Every year in San Diego County, about 50 people are bitten by rattlesnakes. There are steps you can take to avoid being one of them. Remember, rattlesnakes are as afraid of us as we are of them. They will usually only strike when they are provoked. And even dead rattlesnakes are dangerous. Reflex venom strikes can occur hours after death. Don't stick unprotected hands under logs or rocks or even boxes in your garage. And here's a message to pass along to your youngsters.
If they're walking along and they see a snake, they're supposed to back away slowly and run.
When it comes to rattlesnakes, some common sense can ensure a safe summer.
This lab wasn't bit by the snake. They want her to think she was.
And we want them to think that those snakes have hurt them. To avoid them, they have to be afraid of them.
Tracy Jensen is a professional dog trainer. During the spring, her weekends are spent on her ranch hosting dogs and their owners, and she always breaks out a few rattlesnakes that can't bite. Jensen trains dogs to avoid snakes at all costs. The way it works, the dogs wear a special collar when they approach the snake and get stimulated, and they will always remember that zap and associate it with the snake.
And, you know, most dogs will think it was a bite.
The real test happens after a few zaps. Jensen wants the dogs to stay clear of the snakes on their own.
And what we want to do, see, she's not paying attention. There, she got it on her own, but I backed it up with another stimulation. She backed up like that, and when she did that, then I went ahead and got her again.
You know, we really love these two dogs, and we don't want anything to happen to them.
Jerry Murray brought his two dogs to the class after finding a rattlesnake like this one in his yard.
I think anything that you could do to prepare your dog for them, because once they get bitten, it can kill them, of course, and especially if we weren't home and they would run into one in the backyard. Jenny! Jenny! Come!
Murray's dogs passed with flying colors.
Didn't go through the snakes. Ran around them. That's what we want to see.
Here you go.
But like in any class, there's always a few who learn at a much slower speed. They keep working with them until they get it. With photojournalist Lee Lewis, Salvador Rivera, 10 News.